Show me your moves.
And welcome back to another episode of Geek Life right here on Twitch. Okay, hold on. Sorry about that. Let me start that from the top. Yeah, we're okay now. Okay. Greetings, citizens of the Twitchverse, and welcome to another episode of Geek Life Live, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. If you're new to the show, we are a 2-hour mashup of all the pop culture news you know and love. We talk about video games, movies, TVs, comics, cosplays, and all things nerdy. Joining me today is someone who can only be described as the perfect cross between Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen. He is Jake the Great from Gonzo Gone Live.
Hey,
how you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. What have you been binging lately? What's been keeping your mind busy during COVID?
Oh, well, besides just contemplating life itself, trying to get one with my chakras, just been playing and watching a little Umbrella Academy. I know me and you were talking about that a little bit earlier today before we jumped on. And while we don't get into that today, I think it's something we definitely need to cover in the future because you've got some pretty big thoughts about Umbrella Academy versus Doom Patrol, which are very similar, but... Yeah, no, just finished up Doom Patrol and Umbrella Academy, both of them, and looking for that next thing.
Yeah, I feel you. I finished up Umbrella Academy as well, and get caught up on Doom Patrol. So I think we're on the same cycle as far as binge shows go. So we've synced up. Anyways, we've got a great show planned for you today. But before we do, we wanted to remind anyone that if you like what you see here on the show tonight, feel free to follow us on either of our own personal streams or Twitter pages, which you can find right here, right below us on this lovely little bar.
Yes.
I am at Rusebane, WRUSE_BANE, and you can find Jake at
Gonzo Gone Live on both Twitch and Twitter.
We're
both the same. I keep it simple. I'm a simple man.
Both the same. Same for me. Twitter as well. Well, we have a great show for y'all planned for y'all. Jake, let's go through what we'll be discussing.
Yeah, well done. In classic Geek Life fashion, we have another banger on our hands. It's time for the rundown. So, as always, we'll be starting with what's going on in the world of TV, with a little shot of nostalgia. Toonami is partnering up with DC Fandom to air some of Batman's animated greatest films of all time. We'll tell you everything you need to know about that and DC Fandom. Plus, The Office makes its Peacock debut, but will it be enough wind beneath the wings to help this bird fly? We'll see. But that's not all. I'm just running out of intro time. Next we'll pull out the popcorn because we're heading to the movies. Not really, because there's a global pandemic, but we got some cool movie news anyway. So speaking of things that take your breath away, get it? Pandemics. Anyway, Mulan is back in the headlines. Will a Disney Plus release be enough to defeat the Huns? Plus some news that will leave any horror fan screaming. Huh? And you'll find out why that's a good joke later. Then we ready up and press start for some news from the world of video games, where we'll be talking about the newest releases in August, some angelic Halo news, and more. Next in our other news, we'll talk about Nintendo's America's theme park debut is put on hold indefinitely. We'll let you know all the dirty details and how long you'll have to wait before visiting the Mushroom Kingdom. And finally, we'll be wrapping it up with this week's deep dive topic, reboots. What's up with those? And this week's Top Zen, dreamcasting, the DC universe. From the dark streets of Gotham to the also dark streets of Star City. We'll be discussing our dreamcastings for some of the best known heroes and villains of the DC universe. And so let's get right into it from the world of TV. When I told you earlier about a little bit of nostalgia, I was talking about Toonami. A lot of people don't realize, but Toonami's still going.
And they're teaming up with DC Fandom to talk about Batman, I heard. Or some Batman bangers.
It's some Batman bangers. Toonami partners with DC Fandom to air some of the greatest Batman bangers of all time. DC or Toonami is reaching out to DC Fandom for its next collaboration, and the two plan on airing the hit DC animated films to eager fans. August 15th, you can catch Batman Year One and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. August 22nd, you'll be able to see Batman Gotham Knight and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. And this is just an interesting collaboration. And one of the funny things that you wrote in the notes was, who watches TV, though? And so
that's the big thing, right? I mean, it's going to be on live TV, and Toonami is like, and these are movies that that people have seen before. They've been out for a long time, but they are some really good ones. Batman, The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2 are really, really good ones. You also have Batman Year One, and you've got Batman Gotham Knight, which, I mean, those are some good ones. Honestly, the Dark Knight Part 1 and 2 are the real bangers that you want to stick around there for. Possibly one of the best animated Batman movies of all time that DC Universe has put out, dare I say.
I mean, it's definitely in the top 5, you know? So it's got to be on up there, and I think that's one of the things that's got, you know, some people excited that are still cable news watchers, right? Like, I don't know really if our audience is going to be that heavy into the cable news crew,
right?
But or the cable crew. But you know, for the folks that are, at least they're going to get some banger Batman animated shorts to get, you know, kind of hyped up for DC Fandom, which is the next thing that we kind of have in the TV news here. You know, Warner Brothers is going to be hosting the DC Fandom. It's going to have 5 different verses.
Dude, a lot of stuff has come out about this stuff the DC Fandom this week, and oh my gosh, man! Like, I am stoked about this. Like, hold on, I don't want to jump the gun. Please tell us about the verses.
Yes, so just to break it down, there's a few different, I believe we have 5 here. There's the DC Watchverse, which is going to be everything from panels and exclusive screenings to never-before-seen footage featuring cast, creators, and behind-the-scenes crew from across DC films, TV, home entertainment, and games. So the Watchverse, I think, is definitely going to be something you're going to see me in a lot, right? The DC Uverse, which is where the fans are the stars, get to see the most amazing user-generated content, cosplay, and fan art from around the world, which is something that I think like a lot of people are still interested in.
Right.
You know, a lot of things from the DC universe kind of came from the fans, right? And so DC Kidsverse, probably not where I'm going to be, but this area features a broad range of family-friendly activities for younger fans. So, you know, it's got a little something for everybody, right? Which
some people have kids, you know.
Exactly, right? The DC Insiderverse, which is behind the scenes with the master artisans who bring DC to life in all of its forms. They speak about comic books to games to TVs to movies to theme parks to consumer products and more. So the Insiderverse is another one that I think I'll find myself in a lot. And then there's the DC Funverse, which is for every comic book reader, DIY cool like World War
Wonder Woman
84. Yeah, I was about to say World War 84, which we're about to get into very soon. Gold armor and Batmobile kits, plus digital giveaways and a store filled with merchandise, including some limited edition exclusives. And so the DC Funverse sounds like that's where you're going to be able to find a lot of your kind of like cosplay stuff and
getting able to learn how to build your own Wonder Woman 84 golden armor. Like, have you seen what that armor looks like? That armor is pretty intense. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be able to show people how to do that on one, but I guess that's why they have stuff like the Funverse, you know. But they've already dropped some major things that they're going to be talking about at the DC Fanverse. I mean, we talked last week a little bit about the possibility of Injustice 3 being announced there. And then this week, news dropped that the same people, Rocksteady Games, that have made the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham series, Batman Arkham Asylum, City, Night, all through there, are working on a new game.
All the Batman bangers.
All the Batman bangers are working on a new game called Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which is something I am super excited about. One, because the Batman Arkham games are my favorite games of all time, period. Arkham City being particularly my favorite. I feel like that's the basic form of anybody into DC video games. It's like, oh yeah, Arkham City is the best. But
but it is great. It's an
but I
amazing
do
game.
Stand that, you know.
Yeah,
I stand that hard. And that same studio being in charge of a game where you get to play as the Suicide Squad and kill the Justice League, just that very idea. Oh my God, I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. No, it's pretty insane, and it's obvious that this DC universe is going to be, or this DC fandom and everything, it's going to be a lot more than just these verses. There's going to be some more drops, some trailers, some teasers, some things that we're hopefully going to get out of it. Like maybe more Doom Patrol news for the rest of that season, since this one was a little short.
And season 9 or episode
exactly.
9.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, that's just ridiculous. So hopefully we'll get some news about that. Hopefully some more things will come out. But, I don't know if we want to ask for too much more than a new Rocksteady Suicide Squad game. Like the last Rocksteady Batman game, you saw a lot of being able to kind of like bounce around and everything. And could you just imagine that with the different members of the Suicide Squad going, instead of between Batman and Nightwing, going like Harley Quinn and Deathstroke, or
and being able to interchange these characters that you could do, like, dual combo moves together.
Yeah.
I mean, the possibilities with that are really endless, especially if you're setting that in the universe that they created, because then you also have some really cool remixes of some characters, such as one of my favorites, and this is a little bit lesser known one, which is from Arkham Origins, is Copperhead. Copperhead in the Arkham Origins verse is this deadly assassin with like poisonous she has like 2 talon nails on her hand that are filled with poison, or the whole boss battle is just you being tripped out on poison and fighting her. And oh my gosh, she's a very, very interesting character and a much welcome.
It was a hard boss too.
Right, a very hard boss, and a very much a welcomed improvement on the original character. And seeing that universe being fleshed to life is something I will be paying attention to DC fandom, if not for anything but to hear more about Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Yeah. And that's just like the beginning of what they're teasing. All we know about Suicide Squad versus the Justice League is a poster.
Yeah, that's all we've gotten.
That's
so
all
far.
we've got.
Yeah. And so, no, it's huge news, and it's something that I think a lot of us, especially Suicide Squad and DC fans, are excited for. Not just the fandom itself, but announcements like this. It's going to get you super hyped. But speaking of super hype announcements, you have some Office news for us, which is great for clickbait later. Yeah, so please tell us about The Office.
Check this out. The Peacock cut exists. And what I mean by that is The Office. The Office's debut on Peacock will possibly include additional unseen content. Now, we've known that for the while. Back up for a second. For those of you who don't know, Peacock is NBC's streaming service. Peacock is an ad-supported plan, and it offers a limited catalog of titles at no cost. So this is something that anybody can get. You don't need a subscription for this. You just need to sign up and get an account, and you watch the TV, watch the ads, and then watch the shows. But nice. NBC has gotten a hold of The Office. It will be leaving Netflix in due time. And the entire catalog will be found. You will find itself on Peacock. Peacock chairman Mike Strauss says that he and his team plan to introduce unseen material from the show and to help pick up some of the repeat bangers with a promise of new content to consume. Last month, NBC content boss Bill McGoldrick. I hope I said that right.
Close enough.
Bill McGoldrick shot down the idea of any reboots of the show being in active development. And this is a little bit of getting into a gray area as far as that. There has been a Kickstarter recently for a Stanley spinoff. And this has been started by the actor who plays Stanley himself.
I'm sure he would love to have a new show to be on every day.
Right. And so basically he's trying to get it kickstarted and try to get it off the air, but he's in a little bit of dangerous territory here. And the reason I say that is because Office spinoffs in the past typically haven't done very well. For example, there was one spinoff of The Office, I believe, that actually happened during the series, which was The Farm. Did you ever catch this? It's actually one of the episodes of The Office that they try to set it up.
Yeah, I actually watched an entire video. I think it's either Wisecrack. We should find that and link it sometime. There's somebody who did a really good video on that, actually, on how the like last few episodes, or the episodes that had Dwight's farm, were like actually pilot episodes for a spinoff called The Farm, which was going to revolve around Dwight's farm and everything. And it did not test well.
It did not test well at all. And so there's not really good precedent for Office spinoffs. And so it's likely that, we're probably not going to see that, and we're not getting. Which is probably why Bill McGoldrick is shooting down the idea of any reboots or anything like that coming along, because they just haven't worked in the past. But we are getting guaranteed unseen content on Peacock, so that is something interesting. Now, I can only imagine that this is just bloopers that didn't make any of the DVD set lists. Like I don't know. I don't know how you. That's the only real explanation for how you would have additional content.
Exactly. Like, and because by now almost every season has to come out on some kind of DVD, so which has additional content, right? And so I mean I'm interested to see what additional content they have. I'll watch it. It's got to be some kind of weird bloopers, like you said, that we've kind of never seen before. But like, it's sad news to hear The Office leaving Netflix. I think a lot of people have drawn some kind of like conspiracy correlations to the fact that ever since the news came out that The Office was leaving Netflix, the whole world's kind of started to crumble.
The causation is not exactly correlation, but I think you might be onto something there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but speaking of the end of the world, I've got some American Horror Story news next.
Yes, I heard that Sarah Paulson is set to direct a American Horror Story spinoff series.
Yeah, we've got a lot of spinoff, reboot, and everything news. That's kind of the reason for the title this
the flavor
week.
Of the show.
But Sarah Paulson is set to direct an American Horror Story spinoff series. FX is betting big on American Horror Story franchise once again, when they can get it back up and running again. Which, obviously COVID has affected a lot of shows kind of filming timelines. A 10th season of the flagship series is in the works, while a spin-off anthology is also in the works. The later, titled American Horror Stories, will see series co-creator Ryan Murphy reunite with one of the muses of the series, Sarah Paulson, but this time it won't be in front of the camera. According to Deadline, Paulson is in line to direct one of the episodes of the spinoff, making her second time as a director for the franchise. Paulson helmed the highly anticipated Return to Murder House episode in American Horror Story's 8th season. And so a lot of people and a lot of fans are super excited about this. I know I like Sarah Paulson as an actress, and it's been, I kind of been on and off again relationship with American Horror Story. Some seasons I love, some seasons I'm like, meh, And so it's great to see FX, when they find something, they stick with it. Look at Sunny. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's one of those things where it's great to see American Horror Story still kind of like, sticking with it.
So they're going to have American Horror Story and American Horror Stories.
Yes.
That's not going to be confusing at all.
Yeah, I know, right? But the other one, the latter, is going to be short stories, if you will. And so it's going to be, each episode's going to be kind of a new thing. They're all going to be short stories. None of them are going to none of those are going to go together. If I had to guess, FX is going to do it on some kind of like FXX kind of bullshittery. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, that makes sense.
But at the same time, it's like in a COVID world, can we get enough content? Not really. Give me more.
No, we need more content. Yeah.
And speaking of having more great content,
right?
And reboots.
Speaking about reboots, I mean, the theme of the show: rinse, reboot, and repeat. Here, Ren and Stimpy reboot is in the works at Comedy Central. Yeah, as a major push into adult animation, Comedy Central has given a series a green light into reimagining the Emmy-nominated Ren and Stimpy show. Comedy Central has been tapping into IP across Viacom, CBS to build original animated content since their stalwart series, South Park. The Ren and Stimpy show would be joining recently announced Beavis and Butthead from Mike Judge and the Daria spinoff Jody on Comedy Central. Often thought of as an adult series at the time, the iconic dog and cat duo. They're a dog and a cat?
Yeah. Ren is a Chihuahua, and Stimpy is some sort of like, I don't know what he's supposed to be cat-wise, but he's supposed to be a cat. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Wow. Often thought of as an adult series, the iconic dog and cat duo are consistently ranked among the top animated characters of all time. Nickelodeon launched the original Ren and Stimpy alongside Rugrats and Doug in 1991, where it quickly catapulted into pop culture zeitgeist with dark humor and vivid imagination and critical acclaim. Currently, the series revival of Ren and Stimpy does not have an announced voice or cast nor premiere date, nor is there any information about the return to the original voice actors upon rebooting the series. So we might not be getting everybody that we once had on the series, and it may not have all the same ingredients as the original show. But I mean, for a show that age, I wouldn't be personally expecting that. But I remember seeing Ren and Stimpy a couple times on the air. I also now, as an adult, have seen some of the clips of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
And it's very, very clear that there was some latchkey generational stuff going on where our parents just missed some of the innuendos going on in Ren and Stimpy.
Completely. Either
see the saw like that.
Yeah, dude. There's so many episodes that going back and watching. There's a reason why when Ren and Stimpy did come back for the brief time that it did for a little while in the earlier 2000s, it was on MTV and it wasn't necessarily on Nickelodeon anymore, right? Like, it's never made its return to Nickelodeon. I think that's very telling of what type of animation it was. Yeah. And so I think it's one of those where, because, we've seen Rocko's Modern Life and, a lot of the other more zany, and Doug, like you said, it premiered with Doug. Right. Even Doug's made its comeback. Doug is it's harmless. It's such a harmless show. It's, but like at the same time, like Ren and Stimpy, like, oh boy, they were pushing some envelopes. And so it was one of those where I think like you said, a lot of parents were like really paying attention to what was going on, but I'm excited to see Comedy Central make this move into adult animation.
Yeah. And Comedy Central is just picking up the little infinity stones of adult animation here. I mean,
build the gauntlet, baby.
You've got South Park. Now you've got Ren and Stimpy, a Beavis and Butthead reboot, Daria spinoff. I mean, these are some solid IPs to have on there. But again, are there still people watching TV?
Well, dude, just build a Comedy Central streaming network and we'll watch it. You know what I mean? Hey, and I'm sure they're working on an app.
I watch the Daily Show on Comedy Central's app, so I've definitely used it before. It still works off of you have to have a cable service to use it kind of thing. But hopefully, with gaining some more of these IPs and creating a place where they have unique content that only they create,
Peacock.
Maybe they peacock it.
Exactly, just like with Peacock.
That's how I'm going to refer to it from now on. Just peacock it.
Yeah, I'm a peacock captain. You got to let me fly.
Exactly. All right. Well, continuing along the trend of the show here with reboots, big news in the movie sphere, which is Mulan. Mulan is set to premiere on Disney Plus. Now, Mulan is set to premiere on Disney Plus on a premiere access basis on September 4th for $29.99, and this is after Disney Plus has made over 60.5 million paying subscribers from the last month, just 9 months after launch to the direct-to-customer streaming platform. Now they're offering Mulan for $30 on their service, which is very, very interesting. I don't even know what to say. I don't know if I want to pay $30 for another Disney remake because every single one of the live action remakes that I've seen, I've been disappointed by.
I know I don't. I am not, and I won't. That's how that's gonna go. Like, I hate to be that guy that's gonna be like the immediate Debbie Downer, but like, it's $30 for this Mulan remake that essentially, like, as of 2 shows ago, our first show, I think we announced that it was scrapped from Disney's lineup, which it was. It just finally bounced back in when they said, because
this was set to debut on July 24th.
Yes, in theaters. It was supposed to be a theatrical release, and then the Rona happened, right? Mm-hmm. And which understandably they said, okay, well, maybe it'll be a Disney Plus premiere, kind of like what was the not the latest Pixar film that they dropped straight on there that had like the two like trolls, wizards, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Unenchanted or Enchanted? Anyway. The latest Pixar one that dropped on Disney Plus.
Onward,
yeah. That one. Like, that was supposed to come out in theaters as well, and they dropped it on there. And so I think this is an interesting move by Disney Plus. I think they're testing the waters to see, like, will people just pay like an extra like $30 on top of their streaming service for movies on demand? And so I think it's an interesting test. We'll see how it goes for them. I know I won't be buying it.
Now, they do still have a previous announced date that it was supposed to hit theaters. I don't know if it's exclusively I know that it's going to be on Disney Plus for sure, but there's a possibility that it might hit the big screens in possibly other countries or maybe places where it would be safe to go to the movie theaters on August 21st. But I'm trying to verify that right now. I can't necessarily do that. But one of the interesting things that this whole conversation ignites, because now you're talking about this is a new strategy, right? They've never seen a movie that was in production. Now we got the COVID, and the COVID happened, and so
we're post-COVIDs.
The post-COVIDs. We're in the situation where we're releasing stuff on video on demand, and we're putting a big kind of a hefty price tag on it. $30 is probably is a very hefty price for a video on demand for sure.
Yeah, it's a little high.
A little high.
A whole $10, I feel.
Right. Like. But now that this is a possibility, what about Black Widow, dude? I mean, it might personally, I would be inclined to play $30 from possible new Marvel Cinematic Universe content, especially Black Widow, who hasn't gotten her due.
Yeah.
Me personally. But I don't know if that's the same case for you, but it still does beg the question, if you're going to do that for Mulan, why wouldn't you do that for Black Widow?
Yeah, no, 100%. And honestly, I'm with you in the fact that I would be more inclined to drop a $30 on a Black Widow movie. Like you said, it's a character that's, really been a great part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's never really had her on kind of thing yet. And so I would definitely pay $30 to have seen that over the Mulan thing. And it's just because it's a live action remake. Black Widow is it's a new thing in a way. You know what I mean? It's based off of some comics, but at least it's new in its own way, And so whereas the Mulan thing, come on, I watched The Lion King and it was all right, and so anyway, long story short, yeah, I would be more inclined, and I definitely think they should test it. They should keep testing the waters here, especially because we don't know when we're going to be able to go back to theaters nationwide here in the U.S. Unfortunately, we haven't done as well of a job as everybody else. Like you said, I do think Mulan will probably drop in a few other theaters. I think we'll start to see some other movies drop in other theaters, and I think America will be more of an on-demand audience. So,
yeah, I think that could be the case. And I do personally hope to see it happen for Black Widow. Yeah. I'm ready to see what's his name from Stranger Things? Dan Harmon? Is that his name? Not Dan Harmon. No, Dan Harmon's from Rick and Morty. Dan Harper, maybe?
I think it is. Yeah, Dan Harper. Yeah.
Dan Harper.
You're talking about what's his name in Stranger Things? The sheriff.
The sheriff, yeah. That guy also did Daredevil. Anyways, I want to see him, his performance in the Black Widow movie. Pretty bad. Oh, yeah.
Now that you said that, I honestly I was blanking for a minute there. I've seen the trailer for this movie. The trailer's been out for a hot minute.
It has.
I guess this thing's just been in limbo,
And then the COVID, right? That's what happened.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They need to drop it. I'll pay $30. Listen to us, Disney.
Right. You already have it sold to at least 2 people.
Yeah. That's $60, bro.
I know, right? Disney, you're making money here. Another news, Courtney Cox is joining Scream. Tell us a little bit about that, Jake.
Earlier in the episode, it's in the rundown, I said there would be some news that's going to leave you screaming, and then I told you I'd explain that joke later, so here's me explaining that joke now. Courtney Cox is joining Scream.
It all links
you heard
together.
That. Man, that's awesome. It all works out. The Friends alum who landed a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a TV Comedy nomination for her work on Cougar Town joins previously announced Scream cast member David Arquette, who is also coming back for his role as Dewey Riley. The Scream franchise has spanned 4 movies that began in 1996 and have grossed over $600 million at the box office. The late Wes Craven directed all 4 movies. Williamson, who's set to direct this one, wrote Screams 2 and 4 and is geared up to come back for 5. And so this is just another, a big return for the slasher franchise.
It's David Harbour.
What was that?
It was David Harbour. David Harbour is the name.
David Harbour. Okay, nice.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Just comes in at the weirdest moments, right? Like Chad
oh
does.
Yeah. Oh, dude, most definitely. But anyway, so this is huge for Courtney Cox, not David Harbour. This returning for the new Scream 5. So while this is the 5th movie in the franchise, I think a lot of fans, especially of the slasher films, are going to be excited for this one, especially with David Arquette and Courtney Cox coming back for it. That's just a whole blast of the 90s right in your face. And so, but what is one of your favorite slasher movies, Don?
Oof. I'm not huge into the slasher series, but I'll tell you the one that actually got me, the one that actually scared me as a child was Chucky. Chucky scared the ever living crap out of me. I definitely had to sleep with the lights on several nights after watching Chucky because that was one of the first ones that got me, and that was probably why I didn't like slasher movies very much. But I don't know. I've gotten. Cabin in the Woods. Is Cabin in the Woods count as a slasher movie?
I mean, I don't know necessarily if it'll count as a slasher, but it's definitely still.
Well, what classifies as a slasher in this instance? Then?
To me, it's usually one or more protagonists, right?
Okay.
Like or antagonist, if you will, and they have a knife, and that's their primary weapon, and they're kind of like, there's a little bit of.
But Freddy Krueger still counts, right?
I think Freddy does count as a slasher film. I think you're like for slasher films, it's like Scream.
If Hellraiser's in this category, then I'm putting Hellraiser on that list.
Would Hellraiser be a slasher? I guess it would be, but it's a fucking dude. Hellraiser's tough because it's got space. They're like alien demons or something.
You're stretching genres there. You're really going all over the place. We'll do a deep dive into my slasher movies at some point. We will.
But speaking of scary shit, John Wick. We got some John Wick news.
Yeah, John Wick 5 was announced. Keanu Reeves is back-to-back in back-to-back sequels with John Wick 4 and 5, aiming to film consecutively next year. So this is a quote from, I believe, the director. We were busy prepping scripts for the next 2 installments of John Wick, our action franchise with John Wick's 4 slated to hit theaters Memorial Day weekend 2022. We hope to shoot both John Wick 4 and 5 back-to-back when Keanu becomes available early next year. John Wick has become such a big action franchise for the Lionsgate, with the first making $584.2 million.
Big money.
Yeah, big money. Big money. A Stars John Wick TV series, The Continental, which is looking to premiere sometime following the 4th movie. Nice. So that's another a little addition to it. And then Reeves is currently filming The Matrix 4, and Bill and Ted is right around the corner. So my question to you is, Keanu immune to 2020?
I think he's immune to 2020.
Right?
He also has Cyberpunk 2020 dropping later for like everybody who's here for video game news. Like obviously that's something that people are stoked for, but filming back-to-back John Wick franchises, which it makes sense to go ahead and film them back-to-back because you're already in that John Wick mindset. You know what I mean? Like, but then we're also getting a new Matrix and we're also getting a new fucking Bill and Ted, which we're all excited for. Right. And so it's one of those things that like, I think has he even aged since those early Matrix films?
At what point in our society do we start replacing Keanu Reeves for all the Chuck Norris jokes that we used to make in the past?
Yeah, for real.
He's such a better example because, he's the saint of making sure he keeps people's distance and doesn't make sure he doesn't touch anybody inappropriately. He's always super nice, and he's got. Right, and he knows his hits, right? He's just currently filming Matrix 4.
You're awesome.
Bill and Ted is coming out right around the corner. He's made 5 John Wick movies because he realizes how good they are. I mean,
because come on, man. They're just simply like they're just good action packed kind of like, you can kind of like turn it off. You don't have to like really like be like, oh dude, what's the plot of this one again? It's John Wick's a badass and he's killing people, and so it's like pretty, like a little bit, you can just kind of be mindless with it. And so I think it's easy for him, or I don't want to say easy, but it's good for him to film 2 of them back to back because people, they love the franchise. I love the franchise. I'm excited to watch them. Dude, Keanu just keeps crushing it. Like this guy is everywhere and he's staying everywhere. And it's really impressive because it started in the 90s. And so, not that many people stay hot for so long, but go Keanu.
Yeah, go Keanu. Go Keanu.
I'm excited for every movie that he's coming out with. All of the ones we just named, I will watch. I'm stoked about them.
Everything, anything Keanu coming out, I'm all here for. Anyways, we're gonna take a short 5-minute break to think about Keanu. I mean, but before we do, we wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Dark Ranger 919 and Saint Sir, Honey and Eclipse, Four Wings Gaming, Simply Alice, all of you guys. Thank you so much for following. Also, B. Altman, who joined us during the show. Thank you so much for the follow. We'd also like to address some chat and feedback. We got a lot of hugs going on and some friendships being sown. Let's see. Yeah, David Harbour. Everybody was screaming David Harbour here in the chat.
Slashers are they slash.
Slashers are they slash. Okay, that's valid. That's valid. Hellraiser is the reason why I am the way I am. That's a scary statement to say out loud. And some virtual hugs. That's nice. That's nice. Anyways, well, we would like to remind y'all that if you want any all the up-to-date info on all the nerdy news you need to know, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and Twitter, and be sure those notifications are on. And with that, we will kick it out to a quick 5-minute break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's going on in the world of video games. See you then. And welcome back. We've got more nerdy news you need to know. We're talking about what is going on in the world of video games, and new month, new release. Who dis?
Yes.
Yeah,
nice.
that was my way of transitioning into that. It's a new month, Jake, which means that there's a new month of new releases in video games that are coming out.
As one would hope.
As one would hope. And there's a bunch on there, but Jake, there's not very many interesting ones. I will tell you that right off the bat.
There's really not. It's a lot of indie games. I think like Madden towards the end of the month is probably one of the biggest AAA franchises that's coming out.
Right. You've got something to talk about here. You got Call of Duty Warzone Season 5. You got Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition
on PC, which is
on
I
PC.
think has a lot of people. I'm stoked because it was something that was a PlayStation exclusive that now I can play on my PC. Super excited about that one.
Right. And you've got Madden 21. You've got a new season of Fortnite. And Baldur's Gate 3. Supposedly,
nice.
That's about it. That's all. I mean, there. Now, to be fair, there are some things on here like Fall Guys, which is something that I had not heard anything about, but you've gotten a chance to stream a couple of times this week, or that was just today, I think. Actually, wasn't it? Yeah,
I just streamed Fall Guys this morning. Yeah, time it is but a social construct, It
is.
And so, but yeah, no, that was one of the best releases I think of the month of August already, and we're only in on August 9th, right? Like obviously there's going to be some Call of Duty fans that are going to want to fight me in the chat, which fight me. But like Fall Guys, phenomenal. Producer Cape, he plays it as well. He was the one that actually told me to check it out, so I gave it a look-ski. And I streamed it earlier today, and it's a lot of fun. It's just good, wholesome.
You look like you were having fun. Yeah, I tuned in for a little while, and you looked like you're enjoying yourself.
And it's maddening, but it's not to the point of Fortnite, But it is still a battle royale game, style Mario Party-esque, kind of like little mini games. And it was great, man.
Right.
And so I'll give a full review of that one probably later after I've gotten a few more hours under the belt. So.
Yeah, but as far as the new releases that are coming out, I mean, honestly, it's just looking forward to September when it comes to video game releases, which you've got tons to talk about there. Marvel's Avengers was great. But speaking of things that did release as well, actually, we'll wait on that just a little bit. There is some news about Fortnite, though, that you wanted to get into about hosting Shark Week. What's that all about?
Yeah, there's an interesting crossover right now that is going on. We all know Shark Week starts August 10th, which is literally tomorrow. So you can actually watch, according to an Instagram post, Discovery's Tiger Shark King, which, hilarious, by the way, that they named it that, will make an early debut in Fortnite on August 10th. This will be yet another premiere in the first-person shooter that just announced that it is worth $17.5 billion after a blockbuster funding round that was led by Sony. They also added a new update that lets you drive cars. It's something that I might try to stream later on because it looked pretty interesting. But yeah, the newest Fortnite update is really gearing up for season 4, and it's got a lot of fans excited. And it's premiering Shark Week in it, and so like there's just a lot going on here.
That sounds like a lot going on.
When's the last time you were able to check out Shark Week?
Shark Week? I don't know. I mean, I last time I had cable, which was when I lived with my parents, so before college.
You can just boot up Fortnite and watch Shark Week in Fortnite and go ahead and shoot a couple people at the meantime. So
that will be awesome for Fortnite fans. I don't know what it is about me, but I've played Fortnite a couple of times and I don't get the hype. I know I'm an outcast here in the gaming community. Fortnite's one of the most successful games out there, and I always want to talk about it, but it's just one of those that just, I don't know, missed me by a mile.
Yeah, I'm not good at it. So I like it. I like its style. I like
it. You have to be good at it to like it.
Yeah, dude, I like how it looks. You know what I mean? Like its look, its feel, its aesthetic, everything. I like it a lot. I've actually spent probably more money than I should on skins that I never use because I never play the game. Right. But dude, like I love the look of it. I just suck at it, so I never play it because I don't want people to watch me just struggle while I'm getting shot up all the time. So yeah,
I feel you there. I feel you.
But speaking while news, I was gonna say, speaking while being shot up all the time.
I know, right? Go for it.
Halo Infinite multiplayer will be free. It's actually kind of goes well with the Fortnite news because they're taking a similar kind of approach as far as the battle royale version of Fortnite was free while the story version was paid. So Halo multiplayer is actually going to be free to play for anyone. So that's kind of some pretty big news. Halo tweeted on July 31st that its campaign was the campaign was shown off during the Xbox event earlier in July, but 343 Industries has yet to show any footage of the game's multiplayer component. We know we will see multiplayer prior to launch, but without a timetable or exact date. Xbox daddy Phil Spencer recently said that Halo Infinite's multiplayer was special and that the team worked alongside professional Halo players to fine-tune the experience. So I think it's something we can really get excited for, and it's going to be free, so there's definitely going to be a lot of people playing it. In the same post, 343 Industries said that the team is going with a more classic art style for the game, but the studio has heard complaints that the game looks flat, simplistic, and plastic-like after a single-player demo was criticized earlier for its visual fidelity. And if you haven't seen any of the clips from this, did you get a chance to check out any gameplay footage or look at the classic Halo look?
I did get a chance to check out some of it. I love
that photo.
I did. And it was very underwhelming for what I would consider a next gen console. But honestly, there's a lot of interesting things with the news. The first part I wanted to talk about before we get any further is the fact that there's going to be a free online multiplayer for a flagship Halo series, and that is a bit big news because that means that there's going to be some kind of way to be able to play. And from my understanding, forgive me because I don't have an Xbox and I don't play Xbox very often. There's nothing that you can play online currently without some kind of Xbox Live or without paying for it. Correct?
Not that I know of. No, I think like maybe Minecraft on your PC, but that's owned by Microsoft, so it's kind of in the realm, I guess. You know what I mean? But like nothing really. Like Sea of Thieves is another one I believe that you can play online for free. But only actually no. I have Game Pass. I'm being stupid. There's those games you still have to pay for just with Game Pass. So, nothing that I can think of. So this is a huge move, and like I said, it's very Fortnite-esque. I think it's trying to get a lot of people on the Halo train.
That's very interesting, and it's interesting that they kind of took a feather out of Fortnite's cap there. But Fortnite, I mean, as we just talked about, is one of the most successful video game franchises out there right now, and one of the most successful competitive gaming franchises that is out there right now. And Halo wants to be in that sphere for sure. But
just look at
I don't know if they're going to be able to do it with these graphics, though. I mean, that looks like they shaved Harambe and hung him out to dry, man. Like,
just fucking look at Craig Dotson.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at Craig. Look at that abomination. That's the thumbnail right there, by the way, for anybody editing this. Yeah, his name's Craig. And for anybody editing this video in the future, this is the thumbnail. We need Craig in it. It's going to be a classic. It's a banger. People love Craig. But yeah, no, dude, it's these graphics on Halo Infinite, which is supposed to be the next gen Halo game. It's very disappointing, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how 343 responds to all of the Craig memes and people like ourselves who are saying, "Is this? You know, we've been waiting for 343 and Xbox to show us
5."
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, we've been waiting for them just to show us what they got, and they haven't showed us what they've got. But speaking of some pretty cool things that, with graphics wise anyway, I saw you streaming some of the new Marvel's Avengers stuff, and it looked really fun. The beta did anyway. And it looks like we got some news in that game.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to try the beta out yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah, no.
No, you haven't? You know why?
No.
Because it's an exclusive for Sony players.
Speaking of Sony's getting
Speaking of Sony's
their
preferential
asses eaten
treatment
out by Marvel.
Sony's getting more preferential treatment for Marvel's Avengers. Crystal Dynamics detailed more of the console exclusives to come to particularly the Sony side of things, including timed exclusive cosmetics and PlayStation community challenges. PlayStation players will have access to the exclusive community challenges that will unlock specific rewards to that console. PlayStation players will have a 30-day exclusive access to a legendary outfit, legendary emote, epic takedown, and a nameplate for each superhero as they are released, including for the 6 launch heroes. The PS Plus subscribers will also get free cosmetic bundles for each superhero added post-launch, like Hawkeye. And early access beta to Golden Gate Bridge sequences and 2 other player missions. The early access beta, which is what I got to play, is the Golden Gate Bridge sequence with 2 single player missions. I've played through all the beta, and there was 1 single player mission that I went through with Hulk and Kamala. I think there's supposedly another one that's supposed to be with Iron Man and Black Widow, but I never was able to find that. The beta is very buggy.
Yeah. I did notice there was a good bit of bugs, and I did notice I got to see you both play as Kamala and as Hulk, and so I did see you get both of those. And I kept waiting for Black Widow and Iron Man because I have seen some videos online of folks that have played as those.
I mean, I still got to play as them, and I got to play through them on other missions, but it wasn't like an exclusive storyline mission. Like the Hulk one was, at least that I found in there. But it could be just like that I need to reboot the beta because you can even watch during the stream. There's plenty of issues that the beta had where like you would select a mission, then like all of a sudden the only character that would be available is Hulk, or like somebody would be unavailable, and it would give you no explanation or reasons why, and things like that. So there's obviously stuff that they still need to work on. I felt that they released the beta early because they were ahead of schedule, and I think that they're probably not. That they're just just doing it to do it.
They thought they were.
They thought they were.
And then now they're finding out they weren't. And so.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I got to play the Golden Gate Bridge sequence, which was a lot of fun. You've seen that a bunch of times in G4 shows and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of that sequence. It's, all the characters definitely have their own unique feel. In the Golden Gate Bridge sequence, you got to play as Thor and Cap as well as the Hulk. So in total, you get to play as Thor, Cap, Hulk, Kamala or Miss Marvel, Black Widow, and that's it. I believe. And Iron Man. Did I say Iron Man? I don't think I said Iron Man, but Iron Man too. Iron Man ended up being my favorite because you get to fly around and
he's pretty badass. We gotta admit it.
Like you get to fly around and like jetpack and do all this stuff, and you get missiles that you can add on to your character. And honestly, it was a very, very enjoyable beta for much I got to play through. I mean, I got 2 4-hour sessions on stream playing through the beta, and I tried to go through as much content as I possibly could.
So is this a buy for you? Are you the beta?
Well, I've already to get access to the beta, I had to buy it. So I was already sold. Before.
They already got you.
But this is hands down something I'm definitely going to be streaming when it comes out, and going through. Going to be having a lot of fun with. It's a shame that you don't have a PlayStation, because I really want to team up with you and take on some of these missions. Because some of the missions, honestly, would have just been a lot more fun if I had a friend with me doing them as well. Because there are missions where, like, it'd be really nice to have someone who's a Hulk who can just go through there and just beat the crap out of stuff. But like, there's a one boss battle mission where like you have to hit these vents on this giant mech, and being able to fly in that circumstance actually helps you out a lot. Yeah. And so in that circumstance, it might not be good to be the Hulk, but having both on the team, starts to balance it out. So they give real good reasons for why you should have different people on the team and stuff like that. Well, and honestly, those are my first impressions of the beta.
It's an Avengers game, and the Avengers have to assemble. And so, like, I think that's part of it, is they're trying to encourage folks to get their fans on there, or get their friends on there, right? And so, I mean, I think...
Sorry, keep it going.
No, I was just going to say this is just some continued Sony, special treatment, though. Right. You guys have already gotten an over-the-pants hand job whenever you got Spider-Man as an exclusive, and then, now you're getting all of this other cool skins exclusive and everything, and so it's just like, whatever. Like, it's okay. I'm making my move to the PC Master Race, so I'm done with the petty console wars. I'm not.
Oh, is that it? Okay. You're moving on. Well, Crystal Dynamics did originally make the Spider-Man game for Sony as a Sony exclusive, and so I think that's a lot of the reason why they feel so akin to it. But now it's just kind of very obvious and very blatant, and there are some fans that are getting legitimately mad about not being able to miss out on this content.
Oh, I've seen some comments online that have pretty much called for a boycott on the Xbox side, that are saying that we're not getting the same game, like that it's getting ridiculous. And like, I mean, I somewhat agree, but like at the same time, like I get it, like there's a reason why these exclusives happen, and so like they want you to either buy both, or they want you to like they're trying to win you over to their console, right? And so
right.
Anyway,
what if they just give you guys Master Chief and then everything's all good?
Master Chief inside of the Marvel game,
or Craig? What about Craig? What if they give you Craig?
I'll take Craig. Okay. I'll take Craig all day. Yeah, like we'll take one Craig, please, and then they can have Spider-Man.
I'm like, all right, we're good now. We're Gucci. All right, let's see. In other news, as far as video game stuff coming, there is a virtual BlizzCon coming in early 2021. Yeah, BlizzCon was actually canceled during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, which is the big... Actually, that's the only story we're covering. We're just covering it in different ways, right?
Yeah.
But the event will come back next year in a different state. Activision Blizzard has announced during its physical earnings that it will host a virtual BlizzCon in early 2021. Aside from the fan events and esports tournament, BlizzCon often hosts announcements for upcoming projects and DLC to existing games. Diablo 4, Overwatch 2 are two of the big games on the horizon for the studio, though Activision Blizzard earnings also mentioned a secret tentpole sequels for the company. BlizzCon executive producer Sarah Lynn Smith and Blizzard said Blizzard had looked into continuing to have a BlizzCon in 2020, which typically takes place in the fall, but found that the options were complicated by fluctuations in the national and local health guidelines in the months ahead. She also said that BlizzCon was looking into how they would handle esport events, as BlizzCon is often a hub for many big tournament finals.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, the answer to hosting a virtual BlizzCon is that you still do host those big tournament finals, but you figure out ways to make it work for the competitors and
make it safe.
And what I mean by that is I think they should be competing from their own homes, and I think that they need to be sending the resources. Sending the resources and equipment that are needed to the players, which would take some investment in the players. It takes some investment into the competitive scene for them to do that, which they're already willing to do if they're hosting BlizzCon anyways. It just looks different,
Exactly. I think this is something that, like, if they just put a little money to it, they can definitely do it, and they can do it in a safe way. Just keep them at home. it is a big hub for a lot of tournament finals. And
Right.
if by the time they do this, there's some sort of vaccine around, you would only hope that, we could do it in person. So,
Right.
but, they are gearing up to do it virtually. And I think that's the safe way to do it. And so, just keep everything virtual. So you'll be fine.
Yeah. I think that's a safe bet. Moving on to other news. If you've been living under a rock, then you haven't heard about the TikTok ban. Jake, can you walk us through kind of what's going on with the TikTok ban here?
Yeah, so kicking it off in other news, TikTok is banned. The latest thing that has come out is that the president of the United States has given TikTok owners 45 days to make a deal with some American-owned company, but we'll get to that in just a second. For those of you who don't know, TikTok is an app that allows users to post short videos, which often involve dancing or general hijinks. TikTok, which has been available in the U.S. since August 2018, is a subsidiary of Chinese corporation ByteDance. TikTok has been a source of controversy in the U.S. lately. TikTok, the federal government has signed privacy concerns over the app, and is now President Trump is advocating for Microsoft to buy the company's U.S. division. The federal government and others have mainly raised concerns revolving around the potential of China's government to use TikTok for nefarious purposes, which I believe is rich, coming from the United States government, first of all.
Right.
But second of all, it's TikTok. It's fun dances, like you said, general hijinks. I've got a couple little like sketches I've done on TikTok. They're pretty, like mundane. So anyway,
I think that's fucking hilarious.
But the law blog Lawfare notes that while the president has no inherent authority to ban a company, Congress can, and it has delegated its authority to the president. Lawfare notes that in 1998, with the Exxon Fluoro agreement to the Defense Production Act, Congress granted the president the authority to prohibit mergers, acquisitions, or takeovers that threaten national security. TikTok's CEO of operations, Kevin Mayer, hasn't made definite remarks regarding the potential acquisition by Microsoft either. Although Mayer did call out Facebook for attempting to produce a copyright of the app in a recent blog post, which makes perfect sense considering that Facebook was just in the hot seat with Congress talking about how they smashed other, competitors by making copies of them. Facebook and Instagram and all of them at this time are so huge that it's just like they can kind of copy folks. Well, TikTok has really made a name for itself, but with it not being an American company, that gives a lot of people kind of pause. ByteDance is a Chinese corporation. A lot of Chinese corporations are kind of owned by the Chinese state. And so it's one of those things where people, especially the FCC and the Department of Homeland and a lot of other places are saying, well, what about soldiers? Is their location data being collected? And then, not even just that, but what about senators, congressmen? There's plenty of younger senators and congressmen and, even like, local government officials that have TikToks, right? And there's plenty of military personnel that have TikToks. And so there's a lot of questions about the privacy concerns and everything, especially with that data going to, a company outside of the U.S. But then that also raises a lot of questions about companies taking your data inside the U.S. too. And so, it's just kind of like, where do you want your data going?
Right. But there's there are plenty of apps out there that outsource your data to other companies that could be using it for all kinds of different purposes, and not all of them are always based in the U.S. And that's the biggest thing that I think is something that is the concern here, is that specifically TikTok being singled out for this, I think has a lot to do more with how TikTok has hurt the president's feelings in the past and less to do with the actual threat to national security.
And I think a lot of TikTok users would agree. I think a lot of people in general would agree that, this has less to do with TikTok as an app. Yes, it is one of the fastest growing ones. Yeah, it's got a pretty huge, amount of users on a daily basis. But like you said, it's not the only app that comes from, there's tons of apps that are from like Russian shell companies, essentially, that are in the App Store. And there's a lot of other ones from other countries. And there's even other ones from China and India. And like, there's all kinds of apps. I believe Skype was even made in like Sweden or somewhere like that. Like it's, and it was bought by Microsoft, obviously, but like still, not every company and everything we use is going to be American based. We kind of live in a global economy. And so
exactly.
It's just one of those where I think the president just got his feelings hurt. Now he's calling out TikTok, and he's giving them 45 days to make a deal, which is kind of like classic, like strong arm kind of, tactics. And so
I think the president needs to learn that he can take away TikTok, but he can't take away the K-pop stands that did all the controversy, and they're going to come at him
exactly
with a relentless fire like you've never seen before, because that's what the K-pop stands do. And God bless them for the K-pop stands.
Oh yeah, dude. Some
Right
of
here.
my favorite TikTokers, K-pop stands.
You got K-pop stands make the world go around. All right, you heard it here first.
Love
but
it.
Yeah, it's just some crazy stuff with TikTok, man. That is absolutely nuts going on in the world, and I guess we'll see how that situation kind of unfolds.
Yeah.
But one situation that we do know exactly how it's unfolding is, well, I mean, actually not. It's pretty ambiguous. Nintendo in Universal Orlando has been put on an indefinite hold. That's right. Universal's Epic Universe theme park expansion in Orlando has been put on indefinite hold, Nintendo Life reports. The park was due to be home to long-awaited Super Nintendo World. Originally scheduled to be open in 2023, the park is yet to be constructed, but is now on indefinite hold as a cost-saving measure due to the pandemic's impact on the entertainment industry. The delay was revealed on Comcast's Q2 2020 earnings call. Universal Studios Japan has also delayed the opening of Super Nintendo World after the Tokyo Olympics, which were pushed back in 2021. Pushed back to 2021, sorry. The Japanese version of the park was due to open in the summer to coincide with the Olympics. Now, the Rona takes another one. I don't know.
Get some again.
Yeah, what was even weirder about this is shortly after this week, Nintendo World's website accidentally leaked. And
Nintendo leaks.
Yeah, I know, right? Nintendo leaking. For some people, for a company that has a plumber as their mascot,
essentially as the most well-known character. Yeah.
Yeah, they leak more than the White House, and it's ridiculous. And but anyways, so the pictures of the designs of a bunch of them got released to the public, including some Mario Kart rides and things like that. And oh my gosh, dude, this thing looked awesome. If you can see,
I was super stoked for this park to open. It was something that I think a lot of Nintendo fans, Nintendo stands were so excited for. And, for it to be postponed, dude, it's, I mean, I get it because I'm not going to be at a theme park for at least until, like some sort of like vaccine or whatever is kind of like came up. Right. And so like, it's one of those where I get why it's being pushed back, but it's also a bummer.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a bummer, but it seems like the only thing they can do. I mean, it's definitely a sane decision. It's not something that you can condemn them for, and I think that's where we're both at on that. But the thought of having a virtual park has come up, especially after Pokemon did it. Pokemon is doing a virtual online amusement park, which will be opening this August. Which
that's fun to check out.
Announced by the Pokemon Company, this amusement park will be open for a limited time. Pokemon fans across the virtual amusement park through the PC and mobile devices using a cluster app. This festival is a Japan exclusive, and there is no mention of something similar will be created or hosted for global fans of the Pokemon series.
Bummer.
So it's definitely a bummer for a lot of people. It was something that was like, oh, this is cool. And it was like, it's a Japan exclusive. And it's like,
it's just like a roller coaster. That was it. That was the virtual theme park. But we all just attended it.
Hey, Pokemon does that all the time, though. Like Pokemon this week released a Pokemon that was supposed to release in July to coincide with the movie Coco, with the legendary Pokemon Zarude. And Zarude released just this week via codes that you could redeem from the movie. But again, it's only a movie that you could have bought in Japan, and thus only a Japanese exclusive, thus only Japanese players have it. Now you can go online and buy this character for like $15 because people are selling those codes, but it's something that will eventually be released for free. So why, kind of do it. But my point of going on this tangent was that Pokemon is always doing these unique things for Japan, and definitely leaving fans around the world. I mean, America is definitely not the worst when it comes to Pokemon's treatment. Latin America probably is, but they definitely favor Japan really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of understandable, but at the same time, like it would be nice to get some exclusives every now and then. You know, as an Xbox person and someone who lives in America, this is just like this whole show has just been bad news, Dotson.
Right. You know, you just gotta deal with it. All right. Well, we're gonna take another short 5-minute break, but before we wanted to say thank you. I don't believe we had any new follows over the break, but wanted to quickly address some stuff in chat. I love Gonzo's TikToks. Oh,
thank you. Thank you. I'm a big fan too.
Big fan. Big fan. Well, we don't got too much to get into other than that, but stick around. We got more stuff to talk about when we come back. When we talking all about the new reboots that are going on, and just deep diving into reboots in general. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys in 5. Peace. And welcome back to more Geek Life right here, live on Twitch. Let's talk about reboots, since it seems to be a topic on everyone's mind lately. Many fans of pop culture complain about the lack of intellectual property being created. Everything seems to be a reboot, a prequel, some side story, some sort of story that we already know. But reboots aren't always something that should be dreaded. Hell, some reboots even create some content that far surpasses the standards of the original. This show is a reboot, and with all other series, and I lost my place. This show is a reboot, and with all the other series in the process of rebooting, we thought we would talk about reboots in general. Reboots in the news like Ren and Stimpy, The Office, Animaniacs, and more. So we figured we'd do a deep dive into the art of the reboot, what makes them good, what makes them bad, what makes them just downright ugly. So I guess the first question that we really want to ask here is, what is a reboot? And according to Wikipedia, reboot simply signifies a new start to an established fictional universe, or a series of an established fictional universe or series that discards continuity or recreates its characters, plot lines, and backstory from the beginning. It is described as a way to rebrand or restart an entertainment universe that has already been established. A reboot that retains a certain degree of continuity is known as a soft reboot. Okay. So, are we congruent on our terms? Are we right along a line here with Wikipedia? Basically, the one that we're specifically talking about reboots. Or are we going to branch this out to more than just that, and talk about the prequels and things like that?
I mean, I think they kind of fall in line with a reboot, right? But they are like. Or, I mean, like, obviously there's different names for them, right?
Right.
But, like, dude, this has definitely been, over the past couple years, the time of the reboot, right?
Right. And we've seen it all over the place.
I think that's, but, it doesn't matter what is a reboot. What makes a good reboot, I think, is the question you should be asking.
That is the important question, right? I mean, again, we're seeing this more and more lately, and we know that not all reboots are created equal. For me, one of the big things that you need to make a good reboot is time in between the original and the reboot. You need some good time to let that work kind of settle, and then you kind of start way on later. You need to elevate that production value, and you need to improve on the source materials. Those are the two big criteria. You need that time, and then elevation and production value, and improving on source materials. So that means that you're taking the franchise and you're taking it to the next step. You're making it look better. You're giving it a fresh coat of paint. You're making sure that while still making sure that you want to improve on the source material, not just take it all out. And you don't want simply just a regurgitation of the same thing, because why even do the reboot, right? So it has to improve on the source material. It has to have that elevation of production value. And to me, it also needs a good gap of time in between to make a good reboot. What about for you? What I
agree on a lot of it. And, especially the time thing, like that's one thing that I didn't write down, but I definitely have thought about it. And time, The Fantastic Four franchise is a great example of bad reboots because there's never enough time in between them, and they're never done well. You know, they're always done pretty terribly. And so, and we all, I think a lot of people may not know, and we can go into a whole nother deep dive on the contract process, and the reason why we see so many Fantastic Four reboots is because, you know, it allows them to keep the franchise under them, and because if they don't make a Fantastic Four movie every so many years, they have to give the franchise back to Marvel. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like just a petty game, so they have to make one every couple of years, and it's garbage, right? And so, but for me, a good one has to have a fresh cast, but it has to be similar to the OGs, right? Like, you know, you want to pay homage to the originals, but you want to have, like, you know, it's got to be somebody new, you know, usually, unless the OGs aren't like super old. Like, you know, like I think the Ghostbusters remake or reboot was kind of like, yeah, I understood why they wanted to go with a whole female cast, but at the same time, like, you know, you could have got a few other of the guys back together. They were still alive, right? And I think fans would have liked to have at least seen them make a few cameos and everything. But then even then, you know, like, way to take a franchise in a whole nother way. But the setting should be new but familiar is another one that I said, you know, like kind of like I think everything should feel new, because obviously there should be some time has passed, right? But like it should still feel familiar. You should be able to know, okay, we're at Camp Crystal Lake. You know, this is a Jason Voorhees movie. He's going to come out and kill us, right? And so, but and then stick to the source material is another thing that I think is pretty, you know, and you had said improve on source material. I think it's important to stick to it and improve on it, right? Like I think, you know, sometimes going just a complete other way can straight up ruin a reboot, right? But, you know, as long as they stay kind of with it, you know, like I'm kind of with them. And so I don't like it whenever a reboot's just kind of like, you know, out of nowhere with something. And so I'm trying to think of what would be kind of like, I don't know. I would say like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot is probably a good example. And I'll get into worst reboots later and why I think that's one of the worst ones. But like,
are we going into what makes a bad reboot at this point now?
Yeah, actually, good transition. Let's go into what makes a bad reboot.
Let's talk about that. There's tons of bad reboots out there. I mean, some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ones I think is one of the examples that we were talking about, but also Spider-Man. What was it? The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think, is probably one of my examples of one of the worst reboots that I've seen out there. And it's because it really didn't evaluate the same things that we were talking about up top, or with a good reboot, which is for me, which is time, evaluation, and elevation and production value, and improving on the source material. One, that reboot came way quickly. It's arguably the same amount of production value. Like for its time, that Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire was a huge cinematic superhero production, and kind of exceeded the limits of what it was. And honestly, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, just kind of met the same standards as all the rest of them. And arguably, it didn't improve on the source material. It honestly took a worse direction, in my opinion, on the source material. It devolved from it, and not because, and that's not because they did do more accurate routes to the comics. You know, his web shooters, for example, were a gadget versus being something that he was bitten and just kind of formed an ability power that he got, right? In the comics, he's always invented his web shooters. And so they did, they were more true to that source material in a lot of senses, but they didn't honor it in the right way. And they didn't put it in the right frame of light. They overcrowded a lot of their movies. There's tons of different stuff. We could do a whole deep dive on why The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was so awful, but
just by itself.
I think another thing that really makes reboots bad is when you try to it's also the element of time in a different capacity, which is trying to cram too much of the narrative in at once, trying to do too much at once, trying to add too many characters in at once, just trying to kind of jam what used to be a big series or a mini series or something when you're rebooting it, and you're rebooting it to a different platform, and now maybe you have less time or whatever. If you try to put too much of it into once, you can crowd those reboots, and then it starts to become more of a sticker board of ideas versus an actual plot line, in my opinion, when it comes to those kind of reboots. And the other big problem I would say is inauthentic characters make bad reboots.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Andrew Garfield was a terrible Peter Parker.
He was too suave.
Way too suave.
Too suave.
And
yeah, who doesn't want to fuck Andrew Garfield? And
right.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse, but like, come on.
I know, he's a pretty man.
Like, come on, dude. It's Andrew Garfield. Like, he's a gorgeous guy, and like Peter Parker was always kind of like, a little bit of a nerdy guy. That's why I think Gyllenhaal did a good one. Because he's kind of a
not
Gyllenhaal, Maguire. Yeah, there you go.
That's a fair mistake to make. The two could be twins.
But no, Maguire, yeah, like that's why I think Maguire filled it out well, especially and I could be looking through it at rose-colored glasses because of the like you said, that movie when it came out was kind of like groundbreaking. Right. There wasn't that many big blockbuster superhero movies at the time besides obviously the Batmans and the old Superman movies, but like right. You got one every decade essentially. And now we're getting one like every year.
Just to be clear, to make sure we're on the same timeline here, we're both physically repressing Spider-Man 3 of the Tobey Maguire series out of our existence. So that just didn't happen, right? Right when we talk about this discussion, right?
I do. I don't even. What movie? There was a third one.
Good. There you go.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And
so because that is what makes a bad reboot. And I literally put just the exact opposite as above, which is like, it would have a terrible cast just like that, like that's one of them, where the new cast member just doesn't fit in, right. Doesn't stick to the source material. I think that's where things like, the Men in Black reboot really kind of like they tried to get an Agent K and an Agent J and like a new one, but like to us, it's still Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like throw a new one. Like I'm not dead yet. Give me more time. Right. Like, and then you can give us a whole new Agent K and Agent J. There's just so many different, like it's just not sticking to the characters really is one of the biggest things that I think can ruin it. And then, but I think, what are some of your favorite examples of good reboots, I guess?
Good reboots. I think that there are a lot of good reboots out there. I think there's a lot of reboots that really helped revitalize some franchises. I think one of the pinnacle ones when I think of a good reboot, and probably one of the best ones that I could think of when it comes to mind when we had this conversation, was the It reboot. And the 2017 the It reboot and the It Chapter 2 is a perfect example of what makes a good reboot, because I mean, like they were true to the source material. They highly elevated the production value. I mean, it's just a drastic increase in what they could do in a miniseries in the 90s versus a full production movie.
I was gonna say one was almost made for TV. Right.
Exactly.
And the other one obviously made for theaters and was able to get, and be 2 parts. And so like they were able to do a ton with it and make it all brand new, but then it didn't feel entirely brand new. Like it still felt like it,
And gory. I mean, like one of the biggest things is that, there was a whole new level of terror that brought in with the It remakes that wasn't there in the first one, because of the gore aspects that you could do. You could actually see the arm being ripped off and all the blood coming off, and it made your stomach unsettling because we were seeing this happen to a child, and it was in all the horrifying aspects, and that's just something that you couldn't get on a made-for-TV horror show, even with the best thing it could. And it created this character of Pennywise that to me seemed more like a creature taking a clown form versus the 90s version, Tim Curry, sorry, who just seems like a clown, seems like a terrifying clown.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Curry crushed it. Everybody knows that, but it's just one of those things where he crushed it in the medium that he had,
Exactly.
And so the new Pennywise was able to take kind of like an entirely new spin on the same old character. And talk about like sticking to source material, like they were able to go and do pretty much everything that was from the book that they couldn't really do in the show because it was a little too messed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it I think is a great example of it. Another one that I personally wrote was in the horror genre, Evil Dead. They completely rebooted the Evil Dead franchise in a way. They only made one movie though, and it was phenomenal. We didn't get the classic Bruce Campbell, right, that we were used to having, but we did get kind of like a revamp of the Ash character that was just kind of like this badass protagonist that was able to kind of defeat the demons, if you will. And I don't know if we'll ever get another one of them, but because the Evil Dead obviously spun off into a lot of crazier movies. Evil Dead 2 is much more campy, and then Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness is even more campier than that. And so it gets more campier as it goes. And so I don't know if they ever really wanted to do that, if they just wanted to make a true horror, you know what I mean? But It was a great reboot that kind of stuck to the original source material and made it even scarier, right?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. Hold on, I'm having some technical difficulties here. You still there, Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. I lost you for a second. I mean, and we're still on the good reboots, right?
Yeah.
If I want to throw another one in here, I want to throw in Batman Begins, because just as as far as the Batman movies goes, I mean, that was a complete separation in where you really and to talk about to go back to the standards of what makes a good reboot, there was plenty of time in between the 90s one and the Christopher Nolan series. I felt like it was a good, respectable amount of time. You cannot tell me that there is a huge elevation in production value between those two, and you cannot tell me that it didn't improve on the source material and made it resonate more with the source material in a better way. Batman Begins was revolutionary for superhero movies in general, and kind of, in essence, shaped other superhero genres. And that was hands down a very much a reboot of the Batman movie franchise. So I think
brought it back to life.
Brought it back to life, and and made, and it's pretty much the cornerstone of or not the cornerstone, but what's the right word? The pinnacle of
I think it completely revitalized. It didn't just reboot Batman; it revitalized Batman in a way. Like Batman, was kind of dark before Nolan came around, but then Nolan really made Batman pretty serious. Look at Batman before Nolan. All right. Yeah. So you've got like Michael Keaton played a great Batman, right? But then you get like George Clooney and people like that also played kind of like a goofy ass Batman. And you also get, what was the old school OG, rest in peace. What's his name? Dude, Cape is gonna kill me for drawing a blank right now. Adam West, right?
Adam West. And then, I was thinking movie Batman, and I was like, I feel like you named them all.
No. Like you got to go all the way back to goofy, very like wholesome-ish Batman, Adam West, right? And then you kind of get this Tim Burton Batman after all of the years of that Batman, and so like. For a long time, Batman was kind of just like, oh yeah, no, he's the Cape Crusader, like he's kind of like he's not that like dark and mysterious of a dude, right? I think Tim Burton started to take him a little dark and mysterious, right? Because Tim Burton's a little dark and mysterious himself, right? But then like it wasn't until Nolan really got him that he became like modern dark and kind of like, and so. It's
actually a realistic superhero. And Val Kilmer is a shout out. Thank you, producer Cape, for putting that in the chat for us there. That was the other Batman we were forgetting about.
Val Kilmer was a great Batman
Val Kilmer was a great Batman. Absolutely. But like we're movie franchises and TV franchises are not the only things that get reboots. So there's some great video game reboots out there. I think MK9 is a great reboot of a franchise, and the why MK9 to me is a reboot of the franchise more than anything else is because of that return to basics, right? You had that you went from the 3D fighters that were all MK probably between 4 and 8, probably, don't quote me on that, but somewhere in there, those are all three-dimensional fighters where you're fighting in three different directions. They added so many different stuff into it, the failed Marvel versus DC Universe game, all that kind of stuff. But when they went to MK9, they went back to the 2D format where you had you're just kind of on that select path, and that really, to me, that return to basics was huge for them, and completely revitalized the series, brought MK Mortal Kombat back on the map, and made it so where it wasn't one of those franchises that kind of fell off the bandwagon. It was right back to a very classic game. Its introduction of X-ray moves is a great example of improving on the source material, because what was Mortal Kombat famous for beforehand? It was famous for being a gory game that pushed the limits. And
yeah. In the 90s, it was, or like even way before the 90s, actually, like it was the banned game, it was the game that your mom won't let you have because it's too violent,
Exactly. And, the X-ray moves was a great way to bring that crunchy, gory violence right into the action of the game in a way that really resonated with the source material. And so to me, that was a really, really good example of a reboot in video games as well. Do you have any good video game reboots that you could think of?
Oh, man. Not like right off the top, but I do know I'm super excited for the new reboot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. That one's going to be super exciting. I think the new reboots of Crash Bandicoot were very fun. I like platformers. I'm a simple gamer, and so there's been a couple of reboots, especially in video games, like you said, that I've really kind of gravitated towards. I've been meaning to get on the Sparrow. Yeah, Sparrow the Dragon. Like that one was a lot of fun. Another little
Spyro,
platformer.
man.
Spyro. God. And so I've been there's a couple of other ones that I've been meaning to jump on, but that's I never even really think of video games as reboots. So that's interesting to really think of it, because they are. So
yeah, there are definitely some video game reboots for sure. But with all the good reboots out there, there's got to be some bad ones. We talked about the Amazing Spider-Man series as being some of the worst reboots. Honestly, one of the reboots that I think have been the most disappointing is most of the live action Disney movies. Have you seen any of the live action Disney movies?
Yeah,
I mean, this is
I talked about Lion King earlier, I think.
Yeah. This may be a controversial opinion here, but I felt like every single one of them has just not been as it doesn't resonate as much with me as the source material does, as the original animated films did, as the feeling that they got there. And there is so many of them to me seemed so disappointing. Those are some examples of some of the worst reboots in my opinion. What have you got on your list for worst reboots, man?
So before I get to worst, I want to give a shout out to Mad Max and the Planet of the Apes franchise as my last two on my favorite reboots.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I wanted to give them a shout out. But on my worst, and I haven't even seen this movie because I know it's terrible, because I've read everything about it being terrible. And I just, the new Hellboy reboot.
Right. That one got, which is with David Harbour.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. But it was like, why? And then the other one, big one that's on my list.
What is it about Hellboy that you think, based on your criteria, that makes it worse?
Well, so right off the bat, it's actually one that's from your criteria. It's time.
Yeah.
There was not enough time between the old school, Hellboys that had came out and this new reboot, right? Mm-hmm. And then because I know a lot of people thought, oh, it's a new Hellboy movie, and it's like, no. It's a whole new Hellboy movie. Like they're trying to just reboot the franchise. Like it's not going to be a new one with and I should have wrote the guy's name down, because now but the OG Hellboy actor that also was from the Hell's Angel show or whatever on FX, Sons of Anarchy.
Yep.
He was in that show. But anyway, that dude was an amazing Hellboy. Did a really great job at it. And so, yeah, I just didn't see it getting rebooted. It's just nothing anyone asked for, especially any of the fans of the franchise, right? And so, but the time, I need to check on source material, because I need to double check on that. But like, oh, yep, Ron Perlman, right?
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah, Ron Perlman.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, chap. Yeah. And so, anyway, the new Hellboys makes my list, but the one that I'm iffy on is Jumanji. And that's the one that we got the picture up on here. And the reason why I say iffy on is because, damn it, if I didn't actually enjoy the first one. I haven't seen the second one that just came out, but the first one, something about The Rock and Jack Black. And
oh, so you're talking about you enjoyed the first of the reboot series?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that's why I put iffy on, like, I think it may be a lot of people consider it to be a worse reboot, and yeah, no, it's not as good as the original. Obviously, no one's replacing Robin Williams and like everybody in that movie. That it's a classic one from our childhood, but in its own right, the new Jumanji movie wasn't terrible. I haven't seen the second one. Second ones, especially reboots, are usually a cash, kind of like grab,
Right.
And so I'm not gonna speak on it. I can't make a review on it, but I can tell you the first Jumanji movie reboot wasn't terrible, and it could be because I find The Rock incorrigible. The guy, like, like it's one of my man crushes are The Rock, and so
yeah,
anything he does, I'm like, great job, Dwayne. And so but and then I put The Mummy as another one, Men in Black as my third, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles round out my list of the worst reboots. And I think like the reason why all of those make the list are for the reasons that we listed as some of the worst reboots. I don't think they stick very well to the source material. The Mummy reboot was like something no one asked for. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, why do we need to CGI them? Look at this image right here. Look at this gorgeousness that we have going on. It's just those were all costumes, and that was in what, like 88? You know what I mean? Like it was the late 80s, early 90s or something, and it was phenomenal. They look great. They look like that's legit, right? And then they had to make it CGI, and then they made Megan Fox April O'Neil. Like, come on, April O'Neil's supposed to be a baddie, but she ain't supposed to be Megan Fox, bro. Like, that just didn't make any sense. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all.
You got a lot of feelings on the Ninja Turtles reboot.
The Ninja Turtles one gets me kind of fired up, man. Because Megan Fox is like, I'm not gonna shit on Megan Fox. Like, this is not the shit on Megan Fox hour.
Yeah.
Jennifer's Body, banging. That's a great movie. It was not marketed right, but it's a great movie. And then but then of course she's been in some terrible ones. Like Transformers, garbage. Right, and then April O'Neil, just not a good casting. Like, they were just trying to get teenage boys in there, like trying to get some heat off of them, I
think it worked though. I mean,
it probably did. They
slap Megan Fox in there, that'll get them.
But what do you have as some of yours? You said most Disney live action remakes.
Most of the Disney live action remakes. Journey to the Center of the Earth is one.
I love how Kate put Ron Perlman in large letters in the.
Thank you, Kate. Just to help out. The Journey to the Center of the Earth is one that I mentioned as one of the worst reboots ever. I mean, that one was just absolutely awful, and I went back to actually watch some of the source material and realizing how much better it was than the actual performance. It definitely deserves a mention in one of the worst reboots out there. But as we said before, the Amazing Spider-Man series, for all of the most critical reasons, it didn't improve on the source material. It did not have enough time. It didn't elevate the production value, and I think that was a real crash and burn. The interesting thing to me is that we have tons of stuff on this list of good reboots, of bad reboots. We've had talks about reboots in the news.
But
why?
We never asked the question.
We never asked why. Why do people reboot stuff? Why is it that stuff gets these reboots so quickly? And I think that if I'm going to answer my own question,
answer your own question, Doc.
The reason is because reboots are safe. Stakeholders have confidence in existing IP versus taking a risk on something new. Whether you like reboots or not, they're not going to go anywhere because they're a safe bet for a lot of those bigger stakeholders. That's why I think we see so many of these reboots out there. If you had to take a stab at it, I mean, do you agree? Why do you think we see some of these reboots?
No, I do. I agree. I think it's because they're safe. I think that's the number one thing is that, and then your last thing said nostalgia pays bills. And, I could have almost highlighted and bolded it because it's just, that's one of the biggest reasons why we see reboots these days is because nostalgia pays the bills. People will go see a reboot, man. And, some reboots, like we have said, are justified. It's about that time, but other ones are just straight up cash grabs. Like the Fantastic Four ones coming out every couple of years, straight up cash grabs. I feel like the Ninja Turtle one was there for it. They just botched that one. You know what I mean? Like that one, I think like time was on its side. I feel like Hellboy was a cash grab. I also think it was trying to like they just wanted to get another Hellboy movie out the gates, you know?
I think they saw David Harbour in Stranger Things and were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Let's see if we can
get on this.
Exactly. And so, and I feel like the Amazing Spider-Man and a few other ones, you know, like the Disney remakes on yours, dude, those are obvious cash grabs. Like, you know, Disney, they have either ran out of creatives because, you know, I think they put them all in Pixar, you know, like, and so because they're still cranking out a few good animated ones every now and then, you know. I'm excited to see Soul and some of the other ones that are coming out and things like that. But like, dude, as far as their actual like movies, like, come on, like we're getting another Mulan after we just had a terrible Lion King. After we just had what? Did you ever even see The Lady and the Tramp? That was like a Disney Plus exclusive.
Did they do that? I didn't know. I missed
that.
Yes,
they did. And bro, I guess since the Siamese cats were racist or whatever, they pulled them out. So they 86 the Siamese cats, right? And I
have seen the old one recently, and I agree with taking out the Siamese cats. Fully agree.
Dude, I didn't realize how bad they were until I was like, me and Jessica watched the remake, and then I was like, hey, I want to. Why did they cut the Siamese cats? I want to see. And then I went back and watched it and was like, oh, it's racist. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see why they cut the Siamese cats. And so, but they made it a hip hop. They made it a hippie hop, a little rap album part. And so it's like, oh man, wow, Disney. Okay. You know, like, boys, you guys.
Throwing some lines there.
And so,
I hope they're walking.
Anyway, do yourself a favor. Don't watch the Lady and the Tramp remake on Disney Plus. But I mean, honestly, do if you're really bored. You know, now that I'm saying it out loud, like. But anyway.
Now you have options when you have reboots, right? You don't always have to just do a hard reboot. You can do a soft reboot too. Do you have a preference for your series? Like, do you prefer like the hard reboots? Just, you know, if we're gonna reboot the series, we're going with everything, or do you like the soft reboots where you can, you know, possibly hold on to some of the previously established universe?
I mean, I kind of lean towards the soft reboots just because, like, you know, sometimes I enjoy some of the stuff that was already kind of like established in the past, you know? But, you know, sometimes you need to just completely start over brand new. You know, sometimes enough time has passed. And I think time is kind of like the biggest factor in anything with a reboot, really. And that's, you know, why I thought it was like, I thought it was such an important one. But like, yeah, like, you know, I think if enough time has passed, you may want to completely reboot it. If it's not, then add to it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that could definitely kind of change that time factor to make it to your benefit by doing a soft reboot versus a hard reboot. And I think that there are some really good, solid soft reboots. I think X-Men did a really good job of a soft reboot where, you know, they kept the good and kind of retconned the bad with Days of Future Past. And one of the ones that I think has a really good potential to do the kind of that same thing is the DC universe. You know, the DC universe, cinematic universe right now is in major shambles, in a lot of different ways, right? But they have the ability to do a kind of soft reboot or a kind of a reboot what you want and keep the good, because we have a multiverse idea where you know, Flash just jumps into one multiverse and okay, we like you, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, let's grab you, and then but we're gonna make sure we leave Ben Affleck's Batman in the other universe, and we're gonna make sure we
forgot about him.
Robert Pattinson's Batman and his universe because we like his Batman better.
Yeah.
You know, you could do that in the DC universe because you have the multiverse idea. What would you think? Does the DC universe need a full reboot or a soft reboot?
Oh, man. You know, I think because I think it needs a soft reboot, honestly. You know, I was going to say a full reboot because I definitely want to get Batfleck, you know, but then like you said, with the different universes, I think we can kind of like pick and choose because I love casting wise. I love Momoa as Aquaman.
I do, man, and I love the Wonder Woman casting Gal Gadot as Wonder.
Perfect.
She's amazing.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
And I definitely don't think that they should be doing anything with those series or tossing them aside at all. I think that they are good to go. They're cash cows for you.
Henry Cavill's not a bad Supes either. I think like for the Man of Steel, he plays it. He's good.
He is. I just wish he'd shave his mustache before filming Superman movies, but that's just...
They definitely... Well, they called him in late on that one, Dotson.
Yeah.
And you know how long it takes to grow a mustache as a full-grown man. It takes like a week.
Right. But honestly, they could have strapped a caterpillar to his face and it would have fooled everybody else.
But speaking of amazing casting...
Yeah, and speaking about the DC universe, speaking about the DC universe in general, and recasting it. I mean, I say let's reboot the whole damn thing ourselves. With Robert Pattinson's Batman on the horizon, it seems that DC is either rebooting its universe or sticking with the multiverse idea and basically claiming anything is possible under the Starry Knights of Gotham. Future collaborations such as the Justice League will either be rebooted or worse, characters will be brought together via breaches in the multiverse. This opens up a new opportunity to recast some of the most iconic roles in the DC universe with some of our favorite actors to create a completely new cinematic universe. This is not a top 10, but rather some of our top picks for the recasting of our dreams, as well as further proof that the Universal Studios needs to just hire us because we're pretty much doing their work for them.
We're here.
Yeah, we're here. So,
like with G4, this is the application.
this is our application right here. Okay, so let's get started right to it. And first things first, if you have a new Batman, you're gonna need a new Robin, Jake.
Of course.
All right. So Robin, and specifically, I want to point out for this Robin because we have the perfect actor to play this particular Robin.
Yeah, there's a few Robins.
Few Robins out there, which is Damian Wayne, is a crucial character to the Batman lore. He's the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul. Damian Wayne is a cold-blooded swordsman with the cold ruthlessness of the assassins who raised him. He's gone toe-to-toe with other Robins, most of which are nearly a decade older, and manages to hold his ground. He is one of the few to eventually replace his father and take up the mantle as well. Yeah. He's a really unique character, and it's going to take a unique character to bring this guy to life, especially challenging. It's going to be especially challenging to find a young actor, okay? Because Damian Wayne is, 10, 11, somewhere in that range, typically, and all the stories that he's in.
He's still a kid whenever he first comes, into Batman's possession, I guess.
Right. And so you're going to need to find a young actor, and he's going to need to be mature enough to portray himself in a serious setting that Damian Wayne frequents. And I think that many fans of Netflix's Umbrella Academy, myself included, have suggested Aidan Gallagher, the young actor who played Aidan Gallagher, the young actor who played number 5 of the series. And I personally think they could pick anyone better. Gallagher has essentially played a very Damian Wayne character and did so flawlessly. I think that I can speak for myself and other fans when I say he'd be a great pick for the son of Batman. Yeah. Just that scene in the well, this is spoiler free. The scene in the boardroom, just that scene alone in and of itself is a perfect example of why he would make an amazing Damian Wayne, just hacking everybody to death. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about Aidan Gallagher as?
I totally agree, and someone in the chat even called it before you said it. It's so hilarious because I think multiple people were on the same page here. That 5 would make an amazing Damian Wayne, and I think. Not just that, but then he's so, like you said, the boardroom scene alone, that's, and if you haven't seen Umbrella Academy season 2, definitely get into it because now you got to understand what we're talking about. But he would be a kick-ass Robin. And
I think he fits the role really well. I think that he would be a great fit, and I hope to see him in a future casting as Damian Wayne because he would just fit the role perfectly. But if we have a new Batman and we have a new Robin, then we definitely need a new Joker. And you've got the perfect pick for us. Tell us about who we got as our dream cast for the Joker, Jake.
So, and this is going to kind of come as no surprise, but my dream cast for the Joker is going to be William Dafoe. All right. Like a lot of people, you can't have Batman without Joker. The clown Prince of Crime is probably the most universally loved and well-known villain in comic book history. Joker has had some amazing actors play him in the past, but the internet was set ablaze when images of a photoshopped William Dafoe started making its rounds. And if you haven't seen this photo, definitely check out William Dafoe Joker. I don't know if we actually have one because there we go. Nice. And so Dafoe is, and just look at that, just like creepy, just it's all there. Like I think Dafoe, if you haven't seen The Lighthouse, by the way, oh my god, like he plays an insane lighthouse keeper, and I think he could just crush this role.
His character in Death Note, the Shinigami, man. I mean, that's a great example
of saving grace of that movie, and everybody knows it, right? Like he was the only thing that kept that afloat. But Dafoe is no beginner when it comes to playing big-name villains. Many remember him fondly as his portrayal of the Green Goblin in the Tobey Maguire Spidey films in the early 2000s, and even the Shinigami in Death Note. You know, that was one that we had noted.
Right, yeah.
Dafoe is just the right amount of crazy for his roles, and many folks agree he would have made a much better Joker than, say, Jared Leto. Now, I think he would have been an older Joker than Jared Leto at that point, and then I don't know if the Harley Quinn casting would have been all that great. But then I don't know, maybe Joker is pulling in the younger ladies. That adds to his crazy creepiness. And so,
yeah, I mean, this character doesn't need to be a morally just character.
But like I'd added, if you haven't seen The Lighthouse, check it out. I think Dafoe could definitely kill this role. Obviously, past actors that have played him, Cesar Romano back in the old days. Mark Hamill is the classic voice actor. Jack Nicholson crushed it. Heath Ledger crushed it. Jared Leto was there. And then, Joaquin Phoenix did a phenomenal job, honestly. I think they're even going to try to con him into doing a second one, but I don't know if that's necessarily, the best move, but.
I don't know how they move on from there. I think that should be a standalone thing too. I agree. I don't necessarily know if they should do that. I think it's just a cash cow. They're going on it again.
Leave it. It's good where it is. It's good to go. But if Gotham isn't home, or Gotham isn't just home to the Joker, there are plenty more villains in Batman's rogue gallery. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the greatest rogue galleries out there. Ideally, you would want to introduce someone who could highlight the darker side of Gotham and the darker side of its politics. And who better to do that than Two-Faced himself, Harvey Dent? And I believe you have someone that you think would be a great Harvey Dent for us.
Yes, Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face. The once beacon of hope for Gotham has become one of Batman's many rogues, or as one of Batman's rogues who has found their way into both the big and little screen. We all know Harvey Dent's fall from the graces to Two-Face, but I think many would agree no one has ever really nailed it. John Hamm is our pick for Harvey Dent as Two-Face. And the reason is because Hamm kind of exploded onto the scene after crushing it for years on Mad Men. I think he'd make a great Harvey Dent. I'd love to see him push his acting chops in more of a superhero setting. And I think that he really does. Like, one, I just want to see him as a villain in Gotham in general, because him and Mad Men, to me, just that suave, that character that he was able to have there, I think that really just plays. Seeing him in a Gotham setting would be a kind of a dream come true, and I'd really like to see him kind of push himself in that direction. I've never really seen him in a superhero setting, and I've seen him in some serious roles and some comedic roles, but he would be kind of stepping into the same shoes as Tommy Lee Jones and Aaron Eckhart, who played him in The Dark Knight. And Aaron Eckhart did a really, really good job in The Dark Knight, in my opinion. I really liked him personally. And I think that if there was one person that kind of came close to nailing it, I think that he did. But I think that Hamm is an actor that could definitely outshine that performance, and I would love to see him do that.
He'd have to get to a dark place, but I agree. I think John Hamm could do a really great job at it. I think the Tommy Lee Jones ones is the one that a lot of people forget.
It is. But if you're getting blockbuster villains like Two-Face and Joker, then you're going to need to start building a Legion of Doom, which means you're going to need the finances of one of the most powerful men in the DC universe, financially, that is. And that person is Lex Luthor. Tell us who we'd cast as Lex Luthor, Jake.
Yeah, so we've got Lex Luthor here rounding out number 4 on our list, and we decided that Bryan Cranston would be a great Lex Luthor. Much like Joker, Lex Luthor is a huge part of the DC universe, and there is no way that you can build an authentic DC universe without one. Jesse Eisenberg got his shot in the in Batman versus Superman, but not many, myself included, believe he missed the mark big time. His character was more along the lines of a Joker, if anything, and despite his experience playing egotistical tech geniuses in previous work, his genuine disinterest in the material really came to light in Batman versus Superman. We demand someone more like Bryan Cranston. And, I think Cranston is an extremely talented actor, but if there's one performance that definitely seals the deal for us, potential Lex Luthor bid is obviously Breaking Bad. If anybody saw Breaking Bad, you know that he can kind of like flip that switch and play that egotistical maniac, right? I think Cranston would be able to create an intimidating yet human Lex Luthor. He played an amazing villain in the show, and he also produced called Sneaky Pete on Amazon Videos, which I'll have to check out. Many thought he was going to be Luthor in previous Justice League, but it was just a rumor. I think Cranston could really crush this role, though. And it's not just because he was bald in Breaking Bad. Obviously, it's because he can play both, like he's, the human side and like a super villainous side. When you really saw him flip that switch in Breaking Bad, you were like, oh my God, this guy can act. This is the dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
Right. And he became this guy that was very egotistical driven and self-centered, but was to a very deadly extent. And that to me is an embodiment of what Lex Luthor is. And if there's any, like we definitely, you can't have a DC universe without Lex Luthor in it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And two, we really Lex Luthor would be a very relevant character in today's society. I mean, you're talking about an egotistical billionaire who runs for president and tries to take over the world, hates immigrants, all this stuff. I mean, like there's a lot of relevancy in that character right now, and I think Cranston could really bring that to light. And I think he could really bring that character to a whole nother level. And I would love to see it.
And, he'd be joining, like we said earlier, Jesse Eisenberg, which kind of, I believe we all think missed the mark, really. But Kevin Spacey, who, I think in, one of the earlier Superman movies was an okay Lex Luthor, not really like terrible, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the OG Gene Hackman from back in the day, the original Superman, films. I think he played a very cartoony kind of Lex Luthor, but still pretty, maniacal one at that. But if you're going to build a good Legion of Doom, then you're going to need a fully loaded mercenary for hire. Ideally, one that could take on the Justice League single-handedly. Too long didn't read. You're going to need Deathstroke. And I believe at number 5, you have a good casting force at Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke, the one-eyed mercenary. One-eyed mercenary for hire with the skills to take on the entire Teen Titans, and even the Justice League needs a staple cinematic universe. You're gonna need someone with grit. You're gonna need someone who's a typical lone wolf, who can play that typical lone wolf mercenary for hire. Deathstroke isn't he's not a necessary character for the DC cinematic universe. You don't need to have a Deathstroke, but he certainly moves the plot line along very well.
He's a nice to have.
He's definitely a nice to have. He's a character with a lot of depth. When they do explore him, Deathstroke has a family. He has a daughter. There's a lot of loss in his backstory, dependent upon how you take that interpretation of that character. So if you do him right, you can actually play a very, very deep character with it. And I would love to see that talent, a talented actor bring that to screen. And we have 2 picks for Deathstroke because it was hard to pick between these two because, Deathstroke, you need the really good, chunky, gritty action star. So we picked Josh Brolin, Thanos himself. We also picked Tom Hardy as a good pick for Deathstroke. Both of these actors, amazing actors with an incredible body of work. Josh Brolin would be amazing Deathstroke. Brolin has played both Cable and Thanos. He's always no stranger to playing supervillains and dealing with expensive amounts of firearms. Another great pick would be the legendary Tom Hardy. He's an ideal fit for the super assassin, bringing that Mad Max grit. mesh with that Eddie Brock attitude. And Brolin has voiced Deathstroke before. So that would be it would be good to see him come back to that role again. I believe he did that actually in the Batman Arkham series, which is just a great pick for it. Of course, Joe Manganiello, Jenna Menagilino. He was the one. That guy, yeah, he was the one, I believe, who played him in the end scene at the end of Batman versus Superman. And of course, Manu Bennett has played Deathstroke on Arrow. But I don't think I think that Brolin could really capture Deathstroke as a villain, as well as Tom Hardy. Either one of those, a great pick for Deathstroke.
I agree.
In my opinion. But if you have a Legion of Doom, you're going to need more than just your mercenaries. You're going to need more than just your Deathstrokes. You're going to need a big brain behind here. And one of my favorite picks on this list has got to be number 6, which is Brainiac.
Yeah. Coming in at number 6, we got Brainiac, and we have, Breaking Bad. Earlier, we talked about Bryan Cranston, so it wouldn't be, you couldn't bring it full circle whenever you talk about Breaking Bad unless you also talked about Gus, right?
Right.
And so we're talking Brainiac, and we're talking I'm going to murder this name. Gennaro Esposito.
I think it's Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo. And so Gus Fierling, if you're a Breaking Bad fan. So Brainiac is a huge string puller in the DC cinematic universe. He's an all-knowing, all-powerful supercomputer. He's an all-knowing, all-powerful supercomputer with a what is this? An interest in shrinking entire civilizations into a snow globe-sized collection for his own amusement. He hovers on the line between big bad, thinking Thanos level, and your average one-movie supervillain. And that's kind of like the truest way to think of Brainiac, really, because like sometimes he's either like destroying all worlds, or sometimes he's just coming to kind of like pull some puppet strings, like, and kind of like play around with people for a little bit, because every now and then he just kind of likes to fuck with folks. And so, but we believe Gus would play a great, obviously he'd play a great villain playing Gus from Breaking Bad. And in this in his newest endeavor, he plays the Far Cry villain, which we talked about, I think, on our first episode. With his cold expressions and calm collective sense of, sadism. I cannot talk today. Giancarlo would create an absolutely terrifying Brainiac. Can you imagine Gus as an all-knowing, all-powerful being sent to destroy the universe?
That would be terrifying. That wouldn't be something I would be looking forward to.
No. He already played such a super genius in the Gus role. You thought he was always, 2 steps ahead when, I don't want to give spoilers for Breaking Bad, but, until obviously he met his demise eventually. But, I think he could play that super villain, especially that super genius super villain role. I think he could really crush it.
Yeah.
So, but now that we've stacked the Legion of Doom.
I think so too. I think that, I was about to say that I don't think that I can't think of anybody yet that has played Brainiac in any notable level at this point. So bringing him into the cinematic universe would be really fresh and hopefully, bring some new life into the DC universe and see something we haven't really seen on that level yet. And I think that Giancarlo could really bring that to it.
Bring some new rogues in that aren't just Lex Luthor, from Superman. You usually only get Lex Luthor, and you usually only get like Joker and maybe, like a couple of other guys. But like Brainiac's one that's like probably one of Superman's greatest foes that we really haven't got to see much of. And so I think Gus or, Giancarlo would be an amazing, Brainiac to bring to the big screen. And so,
Yeah.
But now that we have stacked the Legion of Doom, may call for some change-ups on the Justice League side as well. Why wouldn't you want to get far ahead of yourselves with your best flash forward? You see what we did there? Anyway, we've got a new Flash. And who do you think would make for a great Flash, Dot?
The Flash is an iconic hero in the DC universe, and he's really critical into weaving the multiverse into all of the options that it has there. Flash is a speedster, he's a jokester, so you're gonna need an actor who's got that needs to be able to reflect that. You know, he needs to be witty, he needs to be quick, and he needs to be fun. With that said, the Flash's brain also works like a supercomputer, and Barry Allen is an incredibly intelligent individual, despite the fact that no one really takes him seriously. So he is smart. He is a very, very clever character too. So you need someone who can portray that well. And I think that a great pick for the Flash, if we're not going with Ezra Miller and we're rebooting, I think Neil Patrick Harris would be a great fit. And Neil Patrick Harris is well known for his quick wit and attitude. And honestly, I believe he has a humor that really embodies Barry Allen. He's definitely no stranger to superhero work. He's voiced Nightwing in the past in some of the animated films. But yeah. I mean, he's a very comical guy, and he's been always interacted in the kind of Comic-Con fandom nerddom anyways. So I think that he could be a really, really fun Flash to bring into the DC universe. Of course, he'd be taking the role of past actors like Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller. But I honestly think that I think he could be a step up from both of them, personally. What do you think?
Personality-wise, I see it. I definitely think in age-wise, he's getting on up there to be, current Barry Allen. I think maybe one of the multiverse Barry Allens, though. No offense, Neil. NPH, if you're watching, I don't mean good. Yeah, I mean he is, but at the same time, like Barry Allen to me is always like,
if you are watching NPH, you know which one hated on you, and you know which one didn't. So.
Exactly. He'll remember this. He's probably definitely heard about it already. And so big fan of the show, by the way. Thank you, NPH, for tuning in. And so. But yeah, no, I think he'd be a great Flash, maybe a great Flash in a different timeline. But definitely the wit's there, the character's there. I think, voice acting wise, I would love to see MPH fill the role. Everything's there. I think he would have been a great TV one maybe back like 10, 15 years ago. He could probably still do it though. I agree with you on this one.
I got faith in him. Well, we still need more on our Justice League side. We're gonna need to stack the lineup because they got Brainiac, they got Deathstroke, they got Lex Luthor. You're gonna need to be adding at least a Green Lantern into the mix, and you've got a good pick for the Green Lantern. So tell us who the pick for the Green Lantern is.
Yeah, so the Green Lantern, we all need to forget that movie ever happened, and let's just pretend that like Ryan Reynolds never starred as him, right?
Right.
So my new cast member for the first ever Green Lantern movie would be Idris Elba. There are many Green Lanterns.
And so you'd be going with... Yeah, okay. Go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
There will be many Green Lanterns to choose from in the DCU, but the top two picks for the Justice League are some of the first to do the ring in the DC comic, or the first to wear the ring in the DC comic universe, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Out of the two, John Stewart seems like the better option. Hal Jordan had an awful movie already, and in 2020, I think it's time we had DC's first black superhero in the limelight. And so I believe, yes, Idris Elba as John Stewart, that's the one I'm going with here. Who better to bring that to the limelight than Idris Elba, right? Idris would make for an amazing John Stewart as he encapsulates the serious nature of which Stewart embodies. In the comics, John Stewart is often doubted by his peers and is constantly proving them wrong. Idris has a great talent for bringing these underrated characters to the limelight and showing a unique strength from within in the process. His work with Heimdall in the Thor trilogy is a great example of this. Just don't dress him in a cat suit, please. And I think, that's one thing that we can all agree that we just don't need to see him in a cat suit again. Don't CGI on the suit this time. Like, let's not. No. But yeah, no, dude, John Stewart, is the Green Lantern that I personally grew up with, thanks to the Justice League animated series that came on every day whenever I got home from school, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so Idris Elba, I think, would just crush this role as John Stewart. What do you feel?
No, I think that he would too. I think that he's a great pick for it. I think that he's got a great catalog of work that shows that he would embody it. You know, Jon Stewart is kind of more of a stoic character. He needs to be a little bit more stern, a little bit more. And I think that Idris really does do that well and does it very stoically. So I think that that he'd be an absolutely fantastic pick. And honestly, I would rather see Jon Stewart than Hal Jordan as the pick for Green Lantern, regardless.
I think we can all agree Hal Jordan's like, I mean, while he does end up being the like alpha omega Green Lantern down the road, like, you know, forget Hal Jordan. Let's go Jon Stewart, team Jon Stewart over here. And Idris Elba, do the damn thing. You heard it here, DC, make it happen.
Make it happen. But these Justice League characters that we're adding on tons of guys. We're forgetting about some of these female characters, and so I think one of the ones that we really do need to talk about on here that I would love to see that we haven't gotten a chance to see yet in the DC universe would be Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl would be a great addition to Zack Snyder's original line because it certainly adds a lot of fighting power to the Justice League. The nymph metal wielding winged guardian Hawkgirl has waited long enough for a moment in the spotlight, and frankly, it is well overdue. And who better to take her place than Furiosa herself, Charlize Theron? Charlize Theron has had nothing but success in action movies she starred in Mad Max, Old Guard, just to name a few. She's been incredibly talented when it comes to action movies. And honestly, it's a mystery why she hasn't been given a superhero role yet. The thought of her flying around and smashing people in the face with a mace seems too enticing, not to mention. There hasn't really. What were you saying?
No, just completely agree. Like, I think she would crush this role. It'd be amazing to see her. And Hawkgirl's someone that we have yet to see really on the big screen. Like, I feel like Hawkgirl, Hawkman, neither one of them have gotten the love that they've really kind of deserved.
They're a hard one to bring to the TV screen, or sorry, the movie screen, in my opinion, because they are a little cheesy. You know, they're just people with wings and shit.
Yeah.
But you know, if there's anyone that could bring the action of her to life, it really, I think that Charlize Theron would be an amazing pick for Hawkgirl, and I think that that's one character that I think the DC Universe hasn't been looking at that they should really look at. But there is one more female character that I feel more so about that than I do Hawkgirl, which is the last one on our list. Which is a character that DC Universe has said is on their slate for new movies to come out. We know that we are going to get this character soon. We don't know who's going to be cast as it, but we have an idea of who might be a good pick for that casting, which is going to be Zatanna. Tell us a little bit about Zatanna. Is it Jake?
Yeah, we think Aubrey Plaza would make for an amazing Zatanna, and you know, it's one of those things where I could definitely see this casting. Zatanna is another important female Justice League member who has been seemingly absent from the big screen, but with talks of movie production on the way, that's likely going to change soon. Zatanna brings a whole new aspect to the DC universe and creates a unique bridge between the Justice League and the magic world. Zatanna is really one of these characters that can be completely reborn. I can't think of many people that would be, that would object to someone taking creative liberty with the character, and I would love to see that person be Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza isn't completely, new to superhero world either. She's been in Legion. I don't know if you ever got to see the FX show Legion, but she did a pretty phenomenal job there. But she has a pretty amazing resume all around, from playing April Ludgate on Parks and Rec. And, then, as I said, Legion, she's had all kinds of range. She also brings a really unique attitude and feel to each character that she plays. She's the kind of actress that, given the opportunity, I believe she could really play any character and make it her own. Powerful, as many people don't know, but Zatanna is a powerful witch dressed up as a classic American magician. Sounds like a femme fatale hero that I would love to see. And I think Plaza, hands down, would be best suited for that role. And there's no one that's really played it before. And so I think Plaza could really take creative liberty here and do some things with the role that, no one's ever really seen and really bring it to life. Like it could really be her superhero outburst besides just a personality in someone's head in Legion in a way.
I stand this pick hard, and the reason for it is I think Audrey Plaza is just an amazing actress, all around, hands down.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of the world. And I think that, you know, as we see in Legion and as we've seen in other things, that she does take this kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude towards her characters that I think would work really, really cool, or work really, really well with Zatanna being the kind of fantastical figure that she is, and existing, just being so much more powerful than she initially leads on.
Yeah.
I think that any character like that, Audrey Plaza can play and have a lot of creative freedom with, and I think that is an amazing pick for a Dreamcast. I would love to see her in the role, and hopefully when they announce the Zatanna movie, we're
listen up, DC.
We'll get that casting.
Yeah. Listen up, DC. You heard it here. And then, you know, if it does happen, you heard it here first, folks.
Exactly. We called it. We called it. But that'll about do it for our Dreamcasting, our top Zen of the week for this show. And that'll about do it for our show today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Geek Life. We hope you've enjoyed everything you're watching. Remember, if you want more Geek Life, you can always follow either of us on Twitter or Twitch. You can find me at Roos_Bane, WRUSE_BANE. And you can find Jake.
Oh, I'm at Gonzo Gone Live on both Twitter and Twitch. You can find it on this side. I'm always on the wrong side. It's over here. It's right there. Oh, right there. Right there. It's
there
right
you go. You can also check out some Geek Life content on YouTube coming soon, and Instagram, links to which should be found in the description below. Big shout out to our moderator Bronwyn and our video producer Cape, as well as did we get any new followers over the break? I don't think we did, but thank you so much for Saint Sneer for tuning out. We had some comments about you don't need to see Krypton.
Yes.
I love Dr. Horrible. Dr. Horrible was fantastic, Saint Sneer.
Yes, it was.
One of my favorites out there. I did not know that Zatanna was in Smallville, but I'll have to check that out. Yes, and but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
The visual of both me and Zatanna both rocking some fishnets. That is also, thank you for that one.
Yeah, I think that you should definitely try that. This should be your Halloween episode, right?
Yeah, I'll
Jake
go
dress up as Zatanna.
Gender bended Zatanna. That's next Halloween. Yeah.
There you go. Where you heard it here first, folks. He made that commitment. He put it out in the universe. It's up to you to hold him accountable to it. So let's see it happen. All right. Well, that's about it for us. We'll be back same time, same place for more of the nerdy news you need to know. Jake, before we go, are you streaming anything cool this week?
Yeah, no, if you stop by the stream, which I already shouted out earlier at Gonzo Gone Live, you can probably catch me playing some Fall Guys later on this week. I'm always playing a little bit of Halo 3 too, because I'm trying to slowly become the best Halo player in the world. And then last but not least, you may catch me finishing up a little bit of Destroy All Humans. What about yourself, Dodd?
Yeah, we did a little bit of the Avengers beta. If you guys are interested in checking that out, definitely go check that out on my stream. We talked about that a little bit earlier. We're going to be going and checking out probably going to be doing some Pokemon ranked tiers. It's about that time. First of the month, we got to get to Master Ball tier. So we're going to be we got a whole new team, fun team. Got a Bisharp Cinderace team. Should be fun. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Same place. And yeah, stay nerdy, friends.